Welcome, everyone. Today, the Contract Packaging Association is pleased to present the Sustainability Shot Clock. The Big Beautiful Bill put a deadline on many of the federal benefits of converting to solar and other types of renewable energy. This session will help you understand both the timetable and what's feasible for you to participate in. I'm John Maslin, your host for this session, and I've been involved in the CPA since the mid-1990s. Because we have a mix of CPA members and non-members in the audience, let me do a short synopsis of the Contract Packaging Association. The CPA has been promoting growth and welfare of co-packers and co-manufacturers since 1992 through industry exposure and networking programs. CPA members include some of the leading partners to CPGs and brands in the country. The association serves as the connection point for the industry through continuing education, market knowledge, and customer relationships. While there are a multitude of benefits to being a member, let me touch on just three. 1, the RFQ portal and Co-Pack Connect. Everyone wants more qualified prospects. The CPA receives between 60 and 80 requests for information on projects per month through the RFQ portal. These are passed on to members. Co-Pack Connect, developed in cooperation with Melville and Associates, is a new platform using AI for a more dynamic, robust, and specific method of connecting the dots between someone who needs a service and someone who can provide it. Benefit 2, the State of the Industry Report. This report, also developed in collaboration with Melville and Associates, is the premier analysis of our industry. Members receive a complimentary copy of the executive summary and a discount on the full report. Summary may be a bit of a misnomer. The latest summary is 90+ pages and includes conclusions, reasonings, areas and locations of growth, and other market information. The full report is 400 pages. 3, networking. Our members, once they have been involved, tell us the number one benefit is networking. Some will tell you on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 12. If you'd like to see what they mean by networking, please feel free to join us at PAC Expo Las Vegas, September 29th through October 1st, and we'll have a meet and greet on Monday the 29th from 3:30 to 5 o'clock at our booth, W101, where refreshments will be served. We'll also have a networking get-together during the PLMA show in Chicago at the Doubletree Hotel across from the Rosemont. It'll be from 4:30 to 6:30 on Monday the 17th of November. In January, we'll be at Cosmoprof Cosmopack in Miami, January 27th to 29th. And most importantly, our annual meeting, Engage, will be in Las Vegas, February 24th through 26th, 2026 at the Green Valley Ranch. A few housekeeping items. All attendees are in mute mode, and at the end of today's session, a brief survey will come your way. Please take a minute to respond. This session is being recorded and will be available to all through a link that will be put up on the CPA website. For questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll answer as many as we can in the time allowed. Now let's get to the substance of why you're here. There's a lot of confusion about what's happening with renewable energy after the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill. If the incentives are still available, or when/if they expire. Our moderator, Sean Stonecipher, will bring this picture into focus. But let's not forget an important part of being knowledgeable about this subject: the ability to discuss sustainability with your customers. Almost every CEO has stated their support for sustainability principles in their annual report because it's good business, and it can be a point of differentiation for you. So with that, Sean, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate everybody's time and curiosity. I'm Sean Stonecipher. I'm a lead industrial developer for Solar One We're going to talk about a lot of different kinds of projects today. We don't do all of them. We only do commercial, industrial, behind the meter projects. It's important when you're able to focus on a thing enough to be good at that thing. So lots been happening. You may have experienced various pressures to run sustainability initiatives. There are a lot of different reasons why people engage in these kinds of projects. Citizenship is the most obvious one. Visibility ends up being a pretty big deal. Sustainability reporting is a big deal for you guys. And so one of the things that we're going to get into is renewable energy credits and what you can put on a sustainability report and why that matters to your customers. Sustainability projects are becoming more and more of a thing in the HR space. So the project pictured here is a 2.5 megawatt parking canopy project we did for Capital Group in Carmel, Indiana. And when you're able to park under your sustainability project, it becomes an opportunity to attract and retain talent. Energy savings, obviously, the one we hope the most for, because we want to be good citizens and we hope that we can afford it. Coercion, there's some soft coercion and hard coercion coming in from your customers sometimes. There's a little bit of, in some cases, do some projects or else. And then even there's an unspoken side to that as well, which is the competitive. So you're able to differentiate on not too many things. You got capabilities and locations and price, and at some point, sustainability could put you over the line for growing new business. So there's lots and lots of intangibles. When I'm presenting, I try and focus on energy savings and economics, because anybody who's got their own additional reasons for doing these things, if I can make it make sense from a cost perspective, that's where it's at. So why now? Now is that people are always asking, when is the best time to run solar projects and sustainability projects? I'm saying it's right now, and here's why. The ITC, which is the tax credit associated with these projects, has been around in some form since I was in diapers. It's a technology neutral tax credit that covers, at this time, 30% of the value of the contract. And so there are additional adders that can take it up to 50%. These are very high numbers compared to historically, because the Inflation Reduction Act pumped us up to these numbers. The Big Beautiful Bill, on the other hand, takes that ITC from 30 to 50% to zero at the end of 12/31/27 for wind and solar only. So it's not going away. It'll still be here until 2033, but it's no longer technology neutral. So on the other hand, while we've got the best solar incentives ever, we've got also the accelerated depreciation was restored by the Big Beautiful Bill. So the Big Beautiful Bill, accelerated depreciation plus the ITC, puts us at peak until these things go away in 2 years. So that's why this is the magic time to be engaging in these sorts of things. Bain Capital projected that a 3% national capacity shortage in 2028. I don't know how much electricity prices are going to have to go up in order for people to reduce their usage, but the imagination runs wild. So we have this, we have sort of a collision course here where we've been in a long period of becoming more efficient and using less energy, but now that data centers are ramping up, we actually need more. Population growth is pushing us to need more. And in this moment, we've sort of, from policy perspective, turned down the faucet to a trickle starting 2 years from now on solar energy, which is solar energy is 75% of the incremental energy gains from year to year lately. So it takes a long time to build nuclear and some of these other things, get them online. the only thing that can be really, really quickly deployed is solar. There are some other things that you can deploy in a year or two. So as we'll see. So watch for also renewable energy credits and power purchase agreements, which are sort of derivative of these energy types. They will fluctuate in their availability and cost as a result of this. Quick graph. So over time, you can see things peaking out right now in terms of the amount of your solar project that might be covered by federal subsidies. In some cases, we really are able to get to that 70% number until the first day of 2028. It's important to note also that your project has to be finished by that day, not started. And so the sustainability reporting piece of this puzzle is that there are multiple standards that your sustainability team could adopt in terms of how to report your sustainability to your customers, and watch for different standards leading to different ways to purchase and different types of products that fit the claims that you want to make. So if you've heard of scope 1 and 2 and 3 emissions, but you're not sure what that really means, this is where it gets really serious for your customers. If your customers are name brands, that household names, they are probably using one of those standards that requires them to report emissions management a certain way. And so their scope 1 emissions are the ones that come from their own process. So if they're generating emissions on site physically, they have some process that's releasing gases, that's their scope 1 emissions. Their scope 2 emissions are the ones generated in support of their on-site activities, which means their energy usage. And so you have scope 2 emissions as well. Whenever you buy energy, if emissions were generated in creating that energy, that's your scope 2 emissions. Your scope 3 emissions are the ones generated through the whole supply chain. And this is where it gets a little fluffier. But what that really means is that your scope 3 emissions are basically your scope 2 emissions are your customers' scope 3 emissions. So that's why they're looking at you to reduce your emissions, because it lands on their sustainability report as scope 3s. And so they're trying to put pressure through the chain for everybody to be more sustainable. Yeah, ESG has backed off in the zeitgeist slightly this year for various reasons, but it's still just as big a thing with European companies, and it's going to come back. So this is why you're getting pressure if you are. So what this is really about is the acquisition of renewable energy credits. So it's the renewable attribute of the energy. These credits are sort of like an adjective. It's your ability to claim your part in investing in some renewable source of energy. Even if it's not tied directly to the energy that you're using, you can get those RECs from somewhere else, from some project offsite, and in the amount that you use on your own sites. And that ends up being how you can make some of these 100% claims. So bundled RECs means that you're purchasing the energy and the REC. An unbundled REC means that you're getting the REC only the attribute of renewability, so that you can make claims. So the Department of Energy has a guide on what kind of claims you can make. If you build a solar project in Illinois and you're using the energy, you may be selling the RECs to the state of Illinois, because they have a program where they compensate you dramatically for your support of their sustainability goals. But if you sell the REC to the state, you can no longer make claims on the RECs from your own energy project. Now, your project might be over 100% subsidized when they do this, so you might want to do that. What we do in that scenario usually is we purchase a different kind of REC that's cheaper, and we replace the RECs that we sold, so that we're able to come out very cash flow positive and still make claims on our energy. So what that looks like on your report is, our on-site solar project supports the state of Illinois' renewable energy goals through the Illinois SREC program, and say 60% of our annual usage is renewable energy supported by the acquisition of Green E RECs. And so that's the kind of claim that you would make in a situation like that. I picked a complex one so that you could see what it looks like, but you can follow the Department of Energy's guide on that sort of thing. So there's various REC strategies. I recommend if you're really into this stuff, you get an advisor for it. They can help you time the market. There's basically spot prices for these things. You can buy futures. You can just basically commit to a whole time range of having your RECs renewable. And you can actually time your deployment of them to your goals. So we have people talking about building their own project and then selling the RECs from their own project until 2030 on the day that they've made promises to be renewable. So they'll sell the RECs until then, and then they keep the RECs for themselves. So things of that nature, just maximizing for economics. Bundled RECs include both on-site generation and virtual power purchase agreements, which is where you're getting the energy from someplace else. So the federal incentives that we're looking to build these types of projects, which include the ITC, that's the 30% tax credit. There's also the Energy Community Zone Adder. It's an additional 10% tax credit for being in the right spot on the map. It's not a lot more complicated than that. You can Google Energy Community Map, and you'll see if you're on the map right then. There's also a domestic content adder for using a certain percentage of the project as domestically manufactured content. There's an accelerated depreciation right now of 100% restored by the big beautiful bill. There's also a transferability option for the ITC, which is a really big deal. A lot of our customers find that they have viable projects, except that they can't enjoy the tax credit. They can't monetize it because they don't have the tax liability this year or next year or the year after that. And so really, if you've got a 40% tax credit and you can't take it now, it might not be exciting to get it as a carry forward 7 years from now. So you're able to sell that tax credit to somebody else who wants it and use that to fund your project. You might take a hit, a discount of 12 cents on the dollar or something of that nature to do it. But there are companies waiting and looking to buy these up to reduce their own liability. There are a lot of state incentives. It's here and there, right? There's a per kilowatt hour SREC in Maryland and Pennsylvania and Virginia. There's lots of programs coming and going all the time. The per kilowatt hour SRECs are really interesting because if the energy that you're generating is worth 6 cents to you, and then the state's going to pay you 4 cents on top of that just for generating it, you might want to sell all those RECs to the state as you're producing them because it dramatically reduces your ROI. There are lump sum SRECs, particularly in Illinois. This is a pretty amazing program where they buy 15 years of RECs from you on your project up front, and they pay quite a bit for them. And so that's how you end up with projects that are 100% subsidized, or something in that range. There are rebates on a state-by-state basis. They range from a flat 50 grand to 7% of your project value and things of that nature. There is also net metering in some locations. The better the net metering program, the more you retain the value of your energy when you export. And what I mean by that is when you produce a kilowatt hour on site and you use that kilowatt hour, that's a kilowatt hour that you did not have to, they did not have to be generated or delivered to you. So you save the value of all of those things. But if there's some part of the day where we're generating more energy on the project than you're using in that moment, we're going to push it back out to the grid and they're going to credit you for it. Now, different states have different rules about what they're going to credit you for that energy. And in some cases, it's 2 or 3 cents, and sometimes it's nothing. And in some cases, it's the full value of what you would have had to pay them for it. And so different states have different policies that really affect viability and how big we would want a project to be. I do want to walk through virtual power purchase agreements briefly. So what this is where you're buying power from a renewable project that is not at your site. And what it actually is you're investing in the project and buying the upside or the downside as it compares to the market value of the energy. So it doesn't affect your bill at all. You keep running your electric bill the same way you did with the same suppliers, but you have this off-site tool that is a hedge against that, and it includes the RECs so you can make the claims. Now, it's complicated. Why would somebody do this? They would do it because these projects are huge, and if you subscribe to them, you can actually hit 100% targets. It's hard to do that on site with a solar project because unless the net metering is really good and you have lots of roof or ground space, we might only be able to hit 20 or 30% of your site's usage. Sometimes we get to 100%, but the net metering has to be great and everything. So when you subscribe to a VPPA, you can just pay the toll and 100% that thing. And so one thing that's tricky about these is that they are complicated. It takes a long time to onboard your team to the idea of it. So if somebody brings you a VPPA, they're looking for you to subscribe to it in the next 30 days before it's all subscribed and run out. There's no way you're going to make a decision like that in 30 days. So what actually happens is that advisor is going to warm your team up to the idea. And then a year later, when everybody's on board with what a VPPA is, you're going to subscribe to one that's available then. They do have, solar, wind, nuclear, geothermal VPPAs. There will probably be other things in the near future, but it doesn't have to be solar. There's all kinds of ways to get access to these. They are bundled RECs. They help you with your sustainability reporting, and they're easy to use to make claims. Fortune 1000s do tons of these. So we educate you, we time it, and then there's a subscription. And we don't do these directly, but I can connect you with somebody who would know how to use this mechanism if you wanted to contact me later. Community solar is a little bit of a different beast. It's off-site, but it's more like an energy supplier. Every market's a little different, but generally, when somebody's putting together a solar project, the developer is going to find a piece of land that's suitable proximity to the utility and the customer. And they're going to find at least 3 off-takers to build that project together and buy the energy from it. It's a long process, and there's enough entities to make it a little challenging. So Solar One doesn't do these. We might in the future. What we find is that every time you add another party to the mix, you have additional attorneys defending themselves against every other entity in the mix. And there can be kind of strange delivery rules. So for example, in Illinois, there was no net metering for these types of projects, at least for a while. And so the customers actually taking the energy had to take it at the times it was being produced. And so it's a lot to manage and make sure you understand the risks of that. Market is on hold right now, basically because a new community solar project probably wouldn't be finished by 12/31/27. We would expect them to be recalibrating this year and trying to figure out what the future looks like. On-site distributed generation just means it's behind your meter, it's at your site. You own it or somebody else owns it, and you buy the power from them. And if you produce a kilowatt hour on site and you use it, the utility never knows about it. So there's nothing for them to charge you for related to that generation. So geothermal on-site distribution is a thing. It can be really economically viable. There are long lead times on this because you're digging deep in the ground, and You can actually only do this in about a quarter of the Western US. So it's just not useful it's not broadly applicable for everybody across the country. And I know that this constituency is kind of all over the place. There's a lot of data centers popping up out in the West, and they are looking at some things of this nature. There's also, the top 1% of industrial sites, really big users, 100 million kilowatt hours and up, that are in the right spots, could be looking at something like this. There's modular nuclear reactors coming online. China has a few of these. I think in 5 to 8 years we'll have several, and sometime in the 2030s it's going to become common to have basically to have a little nuclear reactor in your yard if you're a really big user. So watch for that. It could be a way that we get a lot of power really fast in the future, but it's going to take us a while to get there. There's a lot of companies working on it, and the current administration is really invested in nuclear. So watch for that to get big. Anybody who wants to be capable of running off the grid might be really into this, because you can you can take what you need, and if you need that reliability, it's there for you. But I know that there's only a couple of contract packagers that are big enough that this would be exciting to them 10 years from now. Fuel cells are also off-grid capable. The infrastructure for these kinds of projects just isn't really well developed. Really, the reason that we're working in solar is because it's a well-known product. It's been really, really well productized. But these other solutions are still going to have ITC later, so that's going to make them comparably more viable. So on-site solar projects, there are roof and ground and parking canopy options. Obviously, the parking canopy's got a lot of steel involved, so they're more expensive, but you get some of these additional benefits out of them. A lot of people do think that if they're in Florida, that's probably going to be the best state because it has the most sun. It's true. You probably get 50% more power from your solar panels in Florida than you do in Connecticut, but there are a lot of other factors that are going to be more substantial. So the cost of energy is a big deal. If I can produce a kilowatt hour that has 4 cents of value in Ohio, and it has 18 cents of value in California, I'd rather produce it in California. So there's certain states that get a lot more intense in terms of their value. You end up seeing ranges of ROIs between 2 years and 15 years, depending largely on that. So quick heat map of where energy is most expensive. These tend to be the states that are best for this, though there are exceptions. Illinois, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland, and Virginia all kick in a lot of money on these projects. And so you mix that with their sort of mid-level cost of energy, and you end up with really attractive projects in those places as well. We've built tons and tons of these things. American Woodmark is one of our flagship projects right now. It's 2.5 megawatts in Maryland. So we can show you more of that another time if you want to catch up with me about kind of what the right scale is for these types of projects. There are some qualifications for running a solar project. You got to have some available roof or ground. I can't think of a solar project that doesn't need to be operational for at least 15 years to make any sense, though the modules are 30-year warranted. So we want them up there as long as they can be, and we put them on the ground if we can, because there will be no reason to disturb them at the end of a roofing cycle. So there is a new panel claw racking incoming that enables re-roofs without removing the solar assets. You just go right over the existing roof, but under the panels. And so that could be a really big deal in the next couple of years. We watch for high energy cost states or state subsidies. We got to be able to get operational by 2027. And in some cases, we've got to have the lessor on board. I know that a lot of you folks um, have leased most or all of your buildings, and so there's got to be a path to take care of every stakeholder in that situation. So there's one economic model for this is an on-site solar power purchase agreement. We do these in 7, 15, and 20-year terms, and it's just like an energy contract, but the energy that you purchase is going to come from assets that are on your own property. We would own and operate those, and we've got easement to go take care of it. And whatever we produce, you buy at the agreed rate. And if the rate is low enough, it's exciting. The most exciting one I can think of right now is in Illinois. We're able to do these for 7 years at about 4 cents and maybe a little under that. And if you could get a 4-cent energy contract where you don't have to pay for energy delivered, you would say, how long can I get that for? But there are a lot of states that don't allow power purchase agreements. There's states where it's not economically viable. And so it's just it's a little bit all over the place. And so at the end of these terms, you can either extend the agreement, you can purchase the assets at fair market value, or you can just have the owner of them walk off with the assets. And you can get renewable energy credits with these so that you're meeting sustainability goals as well. Like I said, there's really low priced examples in Illinois. California has some great examples as well. Generally, every time you create a kilowatt hour in California, it's worth 15 cents to you. And so if you can get it for 7 or 11, it's a big deal. Many companies don't do these basically because the terms are so long. And so you got to be sensitive to that. And they tend to have 100-page contracts. And they might be designed to protect so many parties that it really slows everybody down. And so a 20 or 25-year contract can put the kibosh on these. But a lot of Fortune 1000s do these. They know what their real estate plan is, and so they can commit to it. Also, a lot of schools do these because they know they're going to be parked at that school for long enough to make it make sense, and they couldn't take the tax benefits themselves anyway. If you're looking to just buy a solar project outright, watch for a 1.5 to 12-year ROI really after subsidies. We do have them that are 100% subsidized, but in a lot of places it's more like 40 or 50. So these ROIs are really based not on the energy, they're based on how much we can get subsidized. And so watch for that. There's also, when you own it, there's going to be a modest insurance and maintenance operating expenses associated with that. Look for Illinois to be the lowest ROI. It's might be over 100% subsidized, but if it takes 2 years to collect enough subsidies to get you back to zero, that's how there ends up still being a weight for ROI on that. And then there's plenty of states where you can get these projects for 5 or 8 years or better. And if you're trying to meet sustainability goals, that may make sense for you. Here's that graph again from earlier with the ITC and all of its adders and all of the Illinois state rebates, and that's how you end up in that range. Here's an example of one of these projects. If you've got a total system cost of $4 million and a 40% ITC plus depreciation plus SRECs for the Illinois program and their inverter rebate, you actually end up with incentives in the $4.6 million range for a $4 million contract. And so there's ways to finance these so you capture all that value. If you have a place to put it, you got to have some roof or ground. There's also a model that we do exclusively called a solar pay for performance acquisition. And so in this model, it's cash flow positive immediately while you own the assets. You're going to pay us a per kilowatt hour payment for the life of the system. And it's basically designed to pay down the contract over the life of the system. And so there are cases where that pay for performance contract is only a penny or two per kilowatt hour. And so you might say, why wouldn't anybody want 2 or 5 cent energy for 25 years? And it's because you're not strictly purchasing the energy in this scenario. You are um, you're the per kilowatt hour payment is the schedule on which the assets are paid down. So it is a long-term liability. And if that sits on your books in a way that feels funny to the CFO, you might punt this model. It's a new way to buy to buy something. And so these are viable almost everywhere right now if you want to get into it. And family-owned manufacturers are the ones who do these because they recognize that regardless of how it sits on their books, it's all their money. And if they can cash flow positive and get their sustainability project, they're going to want it that way. So in Arizona, we have some examples of under 2 cents for these. And just watch out for the tax liability requirement on those as well. So they work a lot better if you've got the tax liability to take the tax benefits in these scenarios. Also, there is battery storage out there. I'd expect people to be a little curious about this. When we deploy solar, we try to set it up so that the system size we're designing for doesn't export a huge amount of energy because we might get less value from the utility than when we produce a kilowatt hour and use it. And so sometimes people ask about battery storage. There are a lot of battery storage projects out in the wild right now. There's the best opportunity for these is for time of use rates. So if you're in California, for example, and you have a peak rate of 23 cents and an off-peak rate of 8 cents, then maybe you want to store the energy that you're generating or just store energy from off-peak times that you pull straight from the grid in the battery and discharge it at the part of the day where energy costs 23 cents. And so those are the opportunities where we can save the most money with battery storage. Also, California has rebates for these sorts of things. Battery storage projects also will still have the ITC down the line here. So there are not a ton of scenarios where it's actually economically viable to run a battery storage project right now, but the costs are coming down rapidly. I follow this stuff, and there's a new breakthrough in batteries every 3 or 4 days if you're looking really closely. Most of them might never make it to product, but some of them will, and there will come a point at which battery technology gets so good that limitations on our other technologies that we've gotten used to will start to fall away. And it's probably in the 5 to 15 year range. So depending on whether our customers are optimizing for for energy cash flows or for contract lengths, we can kind of find solutions for everybody. And if I connected you with a VPA or a geothermal opportunity, they would probably have some ideas for you too. Solar One can kind of do things our own way and meet specific needs and concerns that people have because we're not using third-party construction. We're not selling when we own a project, we're not selling it to a third party usually. So when you bring in additional parties to construct and to own, they tend to treat your project like asset managers do. And so we're able to keep things simple by running the chain, top to bottom ourselves. So we tend to have more options than a lot of developers. So that's kind of what it's like until 28. But after that, watch for some major changes outside of the ITC going away for solar and wind. So first of all, like I mentioned before, 84% of the incremental capacity for power in the US came from solar and battery storage, meaning there's no other new energy sources coming in. Maybe that'll change. We tend to get new federal policy every couple of years, and state policies change all the time. I mentioned that 3% capacity shortage. We're basically expecting energy costs to keep going up, maybe even in excess of the inflation that we've gotten used to in the last couple of years. Watch for increased nuclear starting in 2030. Not because they won't start building it before 2030, but because it'll take them that long to really make progress based on the new policy. Without the ITC, the new foreign entities of concern rules, the prevailing wage requirements associated with the ITC, and the domestic content requirements of the ITC are off the table. It makes it easier and cheaper to build. And so while right now you can get 30 to 50% of your project paid for, the projects do cost more because we're chasing that ITC. Right now is the best time ever to do this, but it's not as ugly as it sounds to have some of those things go away. If energy costs go up and the cost of building solar goes down, the only thing that might be very different is that there might be a few less solar developers at the table kind of serving these markets, because it may be just less obvious how much opportunity there is here. So we're expecting to be around for the long term. It's just going to be different, and everybody's sort of calibrating what different means right now while they finish up their plans for helping customers get that ITC between now and the end of 2027. So, hey, the ITC remains through 2033 for non-solar and non-wind projects. So if you're interested in a VPPA like that, buying some RECs from a project like that, they probably won't change all that awful much. There might even be more of them. So we're always watching for state and federal policy change. Our experience as developers is that at either the state or federal level, there's some important thing that changes who we're marketing to and what product we're marketing, maybe every 3 months or so. So this is a big one, but there's probably another big one right around the corner, and it may just be states moving to bump their incentives up to keep energy flowing into their state. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. You might have a question or two. I'm going to pause for that.
Hey, Sean, one of the things I took away from what you're saying in the whole presentation, it sounds like you basically need an advisor. It's so complicated. Is that correct? Or
You're going to be better off, even if you just need a REC advisor. Many of you have projects in deregulated territories, right? And so just for your standard electricity, you have some kind of broker or somebody who's telling you, let me throw 2 or 3% onto the price of this energy contract, and I'll help you get one that actually is 20% better than if you found one on your own, because I know where to look and I know what contract provisions to look for. There are REC advisors who do this same thing. And I think the consequence of having a REC advisor might be, if you're going to get into this, might be bigger than having an energy advisor. So either you need somebody to advise you on how to get your on-site projects, which is what we do, or if you're going to do something offsite, if you're just going to buy RECs every year to meet your demand and meet your goals and make your claims, have somebody help you with that. They don't charge you that awful much to do it. You absolutely can buy RECs with no help, but I don't think it's really an advantage. And I don't sell RECs. It's just my opinion.
okay, so this is my question, not the audience's question.
Sure.
If you're getting into other types of energy besides solar, and you don't know where to go, can they call you because I could tell them, I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a
That's
guy.
what I want you to say. They can contact you if they forgot my name, uh, and they didn't keep track of any of this. You refer them to me. I'll send them to anybody I need to. So one of the things that we do in our universe, I said it right at the beginning of this, we focus on commercial industrial behind the meter projects, which is it's the one I talked about the most because it's the one I know the most about. But we work with organizations who do one thing. We work with organizations who do a little bit of everything, who have third parties that they will hire to do that for you. It's how we become good advisors for everything when we only do one thing, is to be able to refer you to somebody who can help you with your idea. And uh, on-site solar is amazing if you want to offset 20 or 30 or 80% of your energy and you have the roof and ground space to do it. If you don't have all of those things and you have some big sustainability goals and claims promises that you've made and press releases and things of that nature, uh, you might need a combined solution. You might need something on site that people can see and have that tactile experience of or the drone footage that you're promoting. But you may also need to buy additional RECs to round out your 100% or 60% promises. And I know those guys. I'll connect you with them.
Okay. So here's the first question, and I'm going to pick this one because it's a conversation you and I had at Engage in Clearwater
Mm-hmm.
when I said, well, we lease all our buildings, so it really doesn't apply to us. And you said, it's not necessarily true. And then proceeded to give me a bunch of information. So the question is, we lease most of our buildings. What are the options?
Right. So here's the trick. You do need the owner of the building on board. And in some of your cases, I know there's a lot of family-owned companies here where a family member owns the building, and maybe a group of family members, including that building owner, owns the company or anything of that nature. So there's always a give and take and a negotiation between all of these parties. And the magic is, how long does it take for us to get worthwhile value out of the solar system? If it's less than the length of the lease, we're all good here. If it's longer than the length of the lease, but we can provide value to the landlord or to a tenant that would come after and make that transition seamless, for all of those parties, then everybody gets something good. It might not make sense for you to own a project that's on someone else's building if we can have some sort of arrangement where there's a power purchase agreement for the exact length of the lease, and after that you can decide whether to extend it or whether or not to have us pack up that equipment and leave with it, or if or we could sell it to the landlord for fair market value, which is less than 10 cents on the dollar, and now they have a unique asset for their building. They have the additional asset value. They can sell power to their tenant, and it's really hard to get. It's really hard to get a solar project on a leased building because of that perception that it doesn't make sense for the different people involved. We do see a lot of real estate investment trusts. Uh, Basically, their tax structure doesn't allow them to take the ITC. Well, now everybody's about to be in that same boat. So you're going to see that. You're going to see as many solar projects on REIT in REIT situations as non-REIT. And so they're all looking for ways to meet this ask from Fortune 1000 companies. Can I get a building with some solar on it? And because of some of these sticky issues uh, with who owns it and who takes the tax liability and who's going to own it after the lease, it's situational, but there's a lot of scenarios where it works out really well. And so it's really just about consulting and knowing what levers to put on the table to keep the lessor excited.
Okay. Here's one that if my, let me make sure I get this right.
Mm-hmm.
If my scope 2 emissions or savings become my customer's scope 3 savings that they can brag about, how
Mm-hmm.
many of my customers can brag about my savings? In other words, I'll make up a
Mm-hmm.
number. If it's $5, and can 3 of my customers all claim $5 or just one of them?
All of them. So, that's a good point. So they may be looking, so there's lots of ways to dice this up, but they're looking to see that the facilities that you're serving them with are going to be sustainable to the degree that that they're looking for. So they may be looking at the details of how much of that facility serves them and how much of those recs are going to serve them. But that's a negotiation between you and them. So, but to the degree that that you're able to claim scope twos, and the claims that they want to make about their scope threes in reference to you is kind of up to them and the standards that they're following.
Okay. Okay, this one regards VPPAs.
Sure.
Does this mean I really don't need solar panels on my roof or in my yard or in my parking garage? Can you just buy solar energy or something from somebody else and get credits?
You can, and that's a really good question. So, reasons people do that is so that they can make the claims they want to make without having to do an on-site engineering project. The reason you might not do that is that because some people look at that and say, "Oh, well, you've invested in a solar energy project. I like these claims you're making." Other people will say, "You're paying the toll to make claims, but you're not really doing anything." And so you have to decide how much any of that matters to you. And there are plenty of CPA constituents who do either one or a combination of both or nothing at all.
Okay. Let's see, we got one more here. You mentioned meter billing in California, 23 cents. So you get the
Mm-hmm.
you make the energy and store it. This kind of follows your comment during the presentation. Can solar and batteries keep our plant up during an outage?
Yeah, this one comes up a lot. I know that sometimes when you've got an outage, it could, you know how many thousands of dollars per hour it costs you to have that outage. You know the cost of bringing in a generator on a truck bed that's big enough to keep you up and running. And so the question tends to be, can we um, can we buy a solar project and some batteries instead of that generator and reduce that risk? And so it's a math problem that usually results in a no. So uh, when you store energy in the batteries, you discharge it at the rate that you need it. And so maybe you buy battery storage and it's enough to keep you up for 15 minutes or 2 hours or 4 hours. But by the time you get a battery that's big enough to really take away all that risk that you're talking about, it's the size of a city block. It's $1 billion. You're probably not going to use it for that. What you can do is tie that battery to a specific process. So if you're a pharmaceutical company and there's some biological process that cannot be interrupted, and it costs you $1 million to go down for an hour because that process got interrupted. Well, you might bring in batteries to keep that up and running. So what you do is um, you'd focus that battery discharge on the one thing that you need to keep running. Data servers, people do that as well. So I hope that
Okay.
answers it.
I think it does. Again, this has been more informative than the conversation we had in Clearwater, which was very informative. So basically it is, you need somebody who knows this stuff. So for our audience, you see on the screen Sean's information, contact information. If you forget who Sean is, feel free to contact me and I'll do I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. So in the meantime, the CPA would like to thank you all for investing some of your time into this learning opportunity. Remember, a short survey is coming up quickly, so please respond, take just a minute. And please feel free to reach out to us if we can help. And we hope to see you at one of our events in the future. Sean, thank you very much for a very informative session.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everybody.
Bye for now.